Thankfully, we're bringing this ridiculous year to a close, and I'm doing the same thing, and this is probably, not definitely, but probably going to be my last instructional video of the year. And the song I'm going to do is Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which is my all-time favorite Christmas carol. I haven't done a whole lot of Christmas songs, but I posted one a while back, and a couple of you said you wanted some more, so I figure I might as well drop a few. And this will be the last one for the year. I do have one more little treat that I'm going to drop at the end of the year, for those of you who've been digging the session videos. Probably got one more I'm going to put out. But this will be it for this year. So I hope you guys are doing all right, and hopefully we'll all have a better year next year. Now, I know I played that on the flute, but you can play it on the whistle nearly as easily. There are a couple of accidentals that it's kind of helpful to have some keys, but we'll cover those, and there's kind of workarounds for that we can get to. So let's break down the basic melody. There's not exactly A, B, C parts in this as there would be for an Irish tune, but the beginning should be fairly familiar because it's got a lot of arpeggios. So if you've been practicing those, you're going to be in good shape. So here's the beginning. So again, just an arpeggio. One more time. And it just kind of walks down the scale. That's kind of the gist of it anyway. Second section here. Basically an abbreviated version of the first. The next bit starts in the F sharp. Still an arpeggio though. So again, an arpeggio, and then it walks down just like the first section. One more time on that one. Then we have a repeat. Exactly like we did in the beginning. The last bit here of this first part, hopefully that's not terribly confusing, and this is where we do have an accidental. I'll do that again, we'll break it down. So we're doing a B flat. D, E, F, G, A, B flat. Yeah, so to do that, we're just kind of covering, we're playing the B and then just half holding that A. And that's one of those where on the whistle, it's easy to miss that. Don't beat yourself up too much if it's not exactly in tune. It's just tricky to get because it's a very narrow spot, and if you're anything like me and you have somewhat fat fingers like I do, that's a bit of a squeeze, right? So see if you can get it, but again, if you can't, don't worry about it too much. Next section is up high. Starts in the F sharp. And I tend to think of that as we have like an F sharp section, and we have an E section. We're about to have a D section here, so it just kind of walks down the scale, but I'll run that bit again. And then from here we go to the D section. And it's the same idea. The melody it carries on, but it's just in a different spot, so. So we got a couple of things there. We got a lot of C sharps. And starting on the D, then we also have that big octave jump. So another good reason to lock down those octaves. So one more time on that bit. And then we go back around to the beginning. Final section, also slightly different than what we had before. So it goes up higher, but we don't have the accidentals. Kind of nice. So one more time on that bit. Then to finish up, we have the one thing that always kind of threw me, just because it goes to a note that I wouldn't expect melodically. So you're going from an F sharp to a G. It's an odd change. It's not a terribly common change. There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't come up very often in Irish music, so kind of fried my brain a little bit. Right? Once more for good measure. So that's the whole thing. Ornaments on this thing, you can play it in a variety of different ways. When we did it the slow way just now, it's more of a more rhythmic, more of a marchy kind of a sound. I kind of like playing it as an air, which is why I did it that way on the flute. So rhythmically, you can be a little bit more freeform, particularly if it's just you playing. If you're playing with a band, obviously you're going to have to work that out ahead of time. But ornaments-wise, so you can go as crazy or as simple as you like. Hopefully I walked a reasonably decent line. I would say err on the side of simple on a song like this, just because the melody is so beautiful. At least I think so. That's, again, why it's my favorite Christmas song, because the melody is amazing. So you can do some slides. I would use a lot of slides in this. That short roll on E. You can even cut the D before that. I use that a bunch, particularly on slower tunes, going from an E to a D. All it is two cuts, and then you're changing notes. So you finish on the E. Kind of a cool way to transition, I think, between those two notes. A couple of slides there. Now, if you had the flute and you had the keys, you may have picked up that I was using that G sharp key. Not a huge advantage to that versus doing a more traditional slide. I've always found I just have a little bit more control that way, which is why I use it. But again, works perfectly fine on the whistle. Could do a double tap there also if you wanted to. I almost always slide that F sharp coming from above, because it's just kind of an easy way to land on that and give it a bit of character. Again, coming back down, anything landing on the F sharp, that sort of crossing noise slide combination thing, sort of an easy ornament, I think. The slides on the C sharp, that's one of those stupid whistle tricks that I did a whole video on. No, where does it go? It goes over there. I don't know, wherever it goes. Wherever that thing goes, I did a whole video on that C sharp, some kind of fun things you can do with the C sharp. So anytime I get a chance to do that sort of slidey bit, I tend to take advantage of it because it's one of those interesting physics things about the whistle. So I like to use those when I can. And that bit again, I don't really vary it too much, although that's a good time to kind of mess around and either simplify or overcomplicate as needed. That one, it's mostly a matter of trying to get that note as accurately as I can. So I don't spend a whole lot of brain power on anything else. I can double tap that A or the B. Not a double tap, single tap really. Mostly it's just a matter of getting that B flat right. The higher section, it's a lot of F sharp, so I'll try to make that as interesting as possible, sliding into it. Tap and then a cut, that's one option. Just taps works too. Then that sort of trilly bit on the F sharp, it's again just like I did it going from the E to the D. Same thing, F sharp to E. These two grace notes followed by the transition note. Sliding that C sharp every chance I get. Finishing the phrase on a short roll. And then that same double cut thing, E to D, like I demonstrated before. Same cut on the B. Hopefully you're starting to pick up that I reuse a lot of these things. Now, when you're coming off that C sharp, there's not a ton of tunes that have back-to-back C sharps, certainly not in Irish music. So you can do that very same stupid whistle trick that I mentioned, which I did the whole video on, which is actually a roll on C sharp. It's a little trickier. No, scratch that. It's a lot trickier on flute doing that, but on the whistle, that's one of the advantages to it. You can do that if you want. I tend to just make it simple and just do that slide. Works just as well as far as I can tell. I do throw a cran in there. That may be a bit much. So I'm tonguing the first two and then a cran. And then popping that A. So as I land on that, bouncing that B finger off. All I did there is a slide on the C sharp. I told you I wear that one out. Sliding off of that A, sort of a crossing noise slide, so a little bit of a G first. Then we roll around back to the beginning, back to the same part we did in the beginning. Then the final bit to wrap up goes way up high. I kind of like to really sell that high bit because we've never gotten to that note in the song yet. I try to think of it as a singer who would kind of be sliding and leaning into those notes and really selling that part of it, for lack of a better word. Getting more slides, nice and vocal and lyrical, hopefully. A couple ways to play that. Could do two slides, could do... So that's how I do it. I hope you guys like the song half as much as I do, because it's one of my favorite things about Christmas is getting to hear this song. Despite the constant barrage of Christmas music everywhere you go, when this one comes up, I always kind of go, aw, and sort of enjoy it a little bit. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of the year. Everybody's happy and healthy. Wish you all the best, and I will see you all soon. Cheers.